This is Season 7 of the Team Roping Journal's podcast, The Score, the show that started it all in the whole podcasting game in team roping and rodeo. At 3 million downloads and counting, this is where team ropers talk, from our weekly short score episodes to the longer sit-down conversations that we get to have that dive deep into the personalities, producers, and horses that inspire the sport. This is where team ropers get their must-know information. Hey everyone, it's Chelsea. Welcome back to The Score. As I predicted, everybody listened to that Jake Corkill episode on his time away from rodeo. So we've got another part of that series on retirement, quitting, slowing down, taking a break, any word that you want to call this whole series. I can't necessarily name it because everybody calls it something different. But this is a very different episode with Martin Lucero, who, after winning NFR average titles, leading the year-end multiple times, having an amazing career, he stepped away and is now teaching and riding horses and going to some amateur rodeos. So this is a very different episode. Martin had lots of different reasons than Jade does. And so I hope you enjoy today's episode of The Score. Today's episode is brought to you by our longtime partners at Equinety. Equinety is a supplement as powerful as the horses it fuels. Its products gives your horse what it needs to help repair at the cellular level. Faster recovery, more stamina, and better focus. Give your horse the Equinety edge and learn more at teamequinety.com. What year did you decide to step away? We'll use the word step away.
Well, I mean, I actually did it twice. You know, I did it like in 2003 for about 4 years or whatever. And then came back in 2007. And then I rodeoed till 13 or something like that. I think 13 was the last year I made it. So.
Why did you do it the first time? What was the cause?
Well, the first time it was more of a burnout type deal, you know what I mean? And I was kind of the point where I wanted to try and do something different. So I, did that for a few years and didn't like that at all, what I was doing. At that time, I guess my oldest daughter, Gabby, was probably, I don't know, she was probably starting junior high or something, around that age. Just kind of want to be around the house a little bit more and mainly just burn out, I think I actually ended up 16th that year, and you know how that is.
Yeah.
And not to Kevin's fault or anything, but he actually made it and I didn't. So that was a little bit difficult. And the main deal, I was just ready to try something different. So then I went home and started that other deal. And it was good for a little bit. I liked it for just a little. Then I started going to a few of the amateur rodeos again. And at that point, I didn't really have, like, my best horse was probably about done. You know what I mean? So that whole process is huge anyway. Finding the right horse that you feel that you can compete on, for one.
Yeah.
Is a huge deal. So then, I was at the end of that rope a little bit and kind of knew it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I didn't want to end up just out of it again. Fight that grind, not knowing for sure that my horse was good enough. So then that went along, and then you got where I still missed it, you know what I mean? Still love to compete. I was going to, in fact, like 2006, I guess it was. I think Joel Bach was a high school kid. I think and then Jojo Lamont. So I'm amateuring with Jojo Lamont and Joel Bach. And Alan actually called me and said, "Hey, do you mind taking Joel around?" And he rode good, you know what I mean? Alan was still rodeoing and said, "Man, do you mind taking Joel around to some rodeos?" And he rode good enough that I could compete with him. And then I actually got a horse from Justin Tommy Davis, Spider-Man, which is one of the better horses that I ever have had. And he was young. The horse was young, but he was getting good. I jackpotted on some. He was ready to go to some rodeos. So I told Alan I would. And then I had JoJo as well. So I had probably the two best young headers that I could get at the time around here, and we did really good. I picked Joel up on Tuesday or whatever, or Thursday, and dropped him off Saturday night, and we did really well. And then JoJo, JoJo was kind of my main guy, really. A lot of the ones that were entered twice, we rode with Josh Patton as the other healer, and we did good.
Mm-hmm.
So the next winter, JoJo was like, "Man, you want to go to the pro rodeos?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go. If we do good, we'll just keep going." So we had a really good winter and just kept going and ended up making the finals that year. And that was JoJo's I think that was his first year he made it. So we did really well. And then, after the finals, he started roping with Randon, which I roped to Kevin Daniel for just a little bit. Then Luke called me and started roping with Luke. And we did. I did better with Luke than I did with anybody else ever.
Yeah, you guys went on such a tear when you and Luke were together.
So that was probably the best 4 years of my career, really. And it was almost like but it was crazy because I was craving it again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was burnt out and then home for a couple of years. And, like, I still roped a lot, but I was, like, energized. You know what I mean? And I think I actually put in roping with them younger guys and started practicing more and I think I got better, really craving it again and wanting to change my roping a little bit more modern.
Yeah, what changed in your roping in those 4 years, or like what adjustments did you make? Do you remember?
I think I had experience from before, so I had that going for me. But definitely had two, and I got another horse from Justin and Tommy called Tudor. So I think the biggest is I had probably the best two horses I've ever had at that point. I had two great horses, and I was doing good, like totally dominating at the amateur rodeos. And then when me and Joe started, we did really well as well, against everybody. So then I knew, like, the measuring stick was already in place, so I knew that I could compete, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then I had great horses, and then I had a young guy that was hungry, so that kind of helped light the fire as well. Like, okay, this kid's hungry, he wants it, and I knew how to get around. Yeah. I knew how to enter, so we had a little bit of an advantage in that sense, because we're not like two young guys that rope good. That's all we know is how to rope, but we don't know how to do the business part of it. So I had an advantage there because I had experience, and you know what I mean, and I could almost help them understand what it took to win where we were going because I'd already been there. But the biggest deal, I think, is the young guys lit a fire underneath me. Was craving it again, you know what I mean, and I really wanted to work at it, and I wanted to do well. And then when I started roping with Luke, we struggled at the very first, like a lot of teams do. But then once we got comfortable and got it figured out, man, we were one of the best teams. Yeah, for sure. We were in the mix every time. Whether we're jackpotting or rodeoing or whatever. There's a few teams that everybody stops to watch, and at that point, we were one of them. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I remember. Yep. So, and that was fun. So that went along for I think we made 4 NFRs, 4 or 5, I don't remember. And then, we stopped roping, and then I roped the Colby Level, and we did really well. But then by that point, I'm already 47 or whatever, Yeah. And at that point, I'm like, I had another daughter that's younger, and I missed my first daughter's almost most of her, young life as far as because I was always gone. Mm-hmm. And then I was, at that point, man, I'm like, man, I'm not really craving this anymore. So then that's when I decided which I still love to rope, but I still amatured after that. I love to compete. That's the only thing I still miss is the competition part. Yeah. The driving part, you can have that. And I used to crave that. I know when I first, I was antsy. Like, I was like, man, I feel like I need to be driving somewhere. I really didn't know. My wife was like, man, almost like you have PTSD and you don't know how to act. You know what I mean? Yeah. All the time. And now I'm the opposite. Like, now I don't even want to go nowhere. But that's probably, in a nutshell, it just burned out the first time and then got a fire just lit back up strong. And rodeo got a little bit better, so I kind of was wanting to experience it again because it was – and then I wish I was 10 years younger now because now it seems even better than ever as far as guys are getting roped for quite a bit more money. But
sure, yeah.
I still watch Cowboy Channel every day or talk to guys about entering or whatever.
Yeah, everybody still tells me you're the master of that stuff.
Especially living in Stephenville, you know, kind of right in the mix still. You know, guys will still stop by and rope every now and then, call me and ask me questions, so still involved a little bit. But
we are going to take a break from this interview with Martin Lucero to talk about Equinety. Equinety is an amino acid supplement as powerful as the horses it fuels. With 8 amino acids, it promotes cellular repair with no fillers, no sugars, no starches, no soy, and no loading dose. It is the easiest supplement to feed and the fastest, best way to get your horse feeling better. Equinety products give your horse exactly what it needs for faster recovery, more stamina, and better focus. You can give your horse the Equinety edge by ordering at teamequinety.com.
But I think the second time that I quit, it was just this time. It's like, didn't really crave being gone that much anymore. Like the whole grind, the whole process I wasn't as eat up with. Like I love to practice, and I still do. I mean, that's all I do every day still. Mm-hmm. But I just didn't feel like putting in the extra anymore. But and then Marley was young. You know, Marley's, like I said, I missed Gabby, my oldest daughter, a lot of her. And not that but I missed a lot of her stuff because I was gone all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that was a big part of it.
Yeah, so what's your life after rodeo, Martin? You're teaching schools, you're teaching...
Well, now I train horses, you know, and it's kind of all on my terms. You know, I take the ones that I want to ride. I sell a horse here and there. I do a lot of private lessons. Mm-hmm. Just about every day I have somebody there just for a private lesson. It's a lot of the same, you know, repeat guys or whatever, but I mean, I have 2 nephews, my brother John Paul's boys that go to Tarleton here, mm-hmm. and I actually head more than I heel now. I head for them every day, you know, and then my youngest daughter's in 8th grade this next year, 7th grade. She plays volleyball, basketball, runs track, so I go to all of her stuff. So that's basically my routine now. Just I get up, take her to school, come rope, pick her up from school.
How did you make the decision that financially you could step away? Was that scary?
That part's scary, you know what mm-hmm. I mean? But then you get to thinking, I didn't have trouble. Once I decided that I'm going to do lessons and ride a few horses, once I figured out that, hey, it's not that bad. I mean, it's still, you know, life's a struggle, right? So mm-hmm. you still got to have enough horses and enough lessons to be able to eat, but when you figure out what it takes to make it work, and that's what you do. So, and I've been fortunate, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like God takes care of me. Like, even when I was rodeoing, like, man, I'd be down on my last and then have a big win. Or mm-hmm. even now, like, say I get down or whatever, and somebody would call and look for a horse and help me find a horse, and I'll be able to make a little money doing that. It seems like God just takes care of me. So, and I just have faith that, you know, as long as I make the right choices and do the right things, that I'll be all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we're not getting rich doing this, so we're not really doing it for the money. I mean, obviously there's some guys that make more than others, but it's more about the love of the game, I think, because honestly, I mean, there's dang near every one of us to make a lot more money doing something else. We put in the same effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was something that Jade said too. Like the sacrifices just got to a point where they weren't worth it anymore. Like, and so the amount of effort that it requires to go into it is wild.
Especially like, you know, him or me and Luke, where you're at that level where, man, you're borderline world champ. You know what I mean? Where mm-hmm. you're at that elite level or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're not quite at that level. You're still making the finals, but it's just not the same. So that part, just making the finals isn't enough. There's not enough burn or whatever. You know mm-hmm. what it is? I don't know. So.
Yeah. Huh.
And then obviously I never did win the world, but when I was close to winning, it was so much, like the fire is brighter. It's burning at you even more.
Yeah.
But when you're roping, just struggling just to make it, it just, man, I've already made it. You know, so I'm not doing it for me anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting perspective.
As far as the competing part, like even after I did quit going, I still like to compete, and I go to the amateurs. Like, you know, it's like I roped with Tanner Tomlinson at the amateurs, and we did really well. And then I roped with Jake Clay, and we did really well. You know, and it's exciting for me to watch these kids now really dominate at the next level. I feel like I had a little bit of a hand in their progression, and even like Jake Clay will even call me periodically, and we'll talk about things, and it's fun to see him. Like, I really root for those two guys because I roped with them, you know what I mean? And I knew what they were capable of.
Yeah. And they came from the bottom and worked their way up.
And I feel like, you know, I'm not saying that I'm the reason by no means, but I was part of their stepping stone, part of the building block that helped get them where they're at.
Absolutely.
And they're incredible, talented kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And I haven't even been to a rodeo in 3 years, so I think of another, like my nephew JC. You know, he's the older one of John Paul's boys, and when he first came to school here, he was a 5. He's an 8 now, and just watching him progress every day is exciting to me. You know, and I headed for him, I've been headed for him as a jackpot, and we've done okay. And then Tyler, the younger one, he's starting to get it figured out too now. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting to just watch them progress every day, or even the guys that I help weekly. You know what I mean? Just I've had guys start as a 4 and end up 7s and 8s, and you know, in a short period of time, and that part excites me to watch guys do really well.
Yeah.
I like teaching roping too. I mean, I enjoy it.
What are you, as far as jackpotting? I'm trying to remember the last time I saw you at one of the big ones. Have you kind of stepped aside from going to like the Lone Star Shootout or the BFI or anything?
I've actually been, you know, they lowered my head number, so I've been heading to a lot of these World Series ropings quite a bit, actually. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, when I was a young kid, I was a header, and so I told somebody the other day, when I'm old man, I'm going to go out as a header probably. So.
That's awesome, Martin. Well,
but I don't know.
Thank you. I know, I'm like, let's call and talk about quitting and retiring. It's not exactly the most exciting or
I don't ever think that I guess it's retirement from pro. We never quit. We're
step away. You're too dumb.
I mean, we just love the rope. We love to compete. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and Jade said he made more money this year than he did, way more. He made, $80,000 this year and he made $50 last year, all last year. So it hasn't been bad.
That's what's crazy about even, it's just the margins aren't as big, but you get to keep more of it. Seems like it. You don't have near the money. Because it's a huge commitment trying to make that far. People don't understand that it's more than just the competition part. It's especially this day and age.
Yeah.
When horses and trucks and trailers and everything costs so dang much. And everybody thinks everybody has these great sponsors. And we do have sponsors, and we're grateful for them. But not everybody has a gravy train. You know what I mean? You still got to win to eat.
Yeah, it's even with the best sponsors, it's still not. With what people will tell me, what they're getting paid to rope with someone or whatever, and it's like, man, with inflation right now, it is still very tough.
Yeah, I mean, it don't matter what we do anymore. It's not easy.
Yeah.
I'm sure with what you do, you still got to find ways to make it last. You got to watch yourself a little bit.
Yep.
And I think when we're rodeoing and doing well, we kind of take it for granted a little bit because it's almost easy come. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you're hot, yeah.
And then whenever it kind of slows down, you're like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I'm fortunate. I mean, I've had a blessed life, and I've not had to work for anybody really my whole life. So
it's been worth it.
I'm sure I could have made more money or whatever, but I'm pretty content and happy with those. I don't know that I'd recommend it if I had a 14-year-old boy or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if they wanted it, I'm sure I'd be right behind them. But I don't regret what I've chosen to do either.
Mm-hmm.
Made a lot of relationships, a lot of friends all over the United States. That's kind of what makes us go around anyway.
You get people like me who call you 11 years after your last NFR and still want to talk about it. So.
Well, and I have buddies that have a lot of money that are miserable. You know what
Absolutely,
I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think as long as as long as you're happy and content with what you're doing, you're happy.
Yep.
So
I love it.
Anyway.
Every time I call you, I'm so very excited to hear what you have to say.
Appreciate that.
Of course. Well, holler if you need anything, sir.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Martin. Bye. Today's episode was brought to you by Equinety Horse XL. The benefits of Equinety Horse XL: it improves muscle support for strength and recovery, stronger collagen for healthier coat and bones, maximizes performance with cell regeneration, increases focus so you have a more responsive horse. No fillers, no sugars, no starches, no soy. It is 100% pure amino acids. $99 for a 100-day supply over at teamequinety.com.